happy. I think I just kind of tipped over to that, I kind of was plugging along, listening to all of you, giving myself some grace, but for some reason when I woke up today, I had tipped back into myself. And so I am here to share some stuff with you. It is a sunny, brisk day. I heard from girlfriends this morning that the first big snowstorm had hit Central Oregon, and it looks beautiful but cold. So I am kind of happy that I don't have to go out and shovel. I'm okay with that. And I think part of it is that with all the isolation of 2020, and then you throw on weather that keeps you inside, it just, I don't know. I'm ready for a little bit of a change, and I'm happy about it. So now the beehive is fairly organized. I know that I'll tweak it as I go along, or something will look a little bit, I'll want it to look a little bit different, and I'll do that. But for the most part, everything is ready. I have projects identified. I have determined how I want to approach 2021, and 2021 is going to be my year of the UFO and the WIP. The WIP is an acronym for work in progress, and so I'm going to re-embrace the UFOs and the WIPs that I love. But I really took the advice of several of you who said, if you aren't feeling the love for a project and you're ready to let it go, why not let someone else love it? And oh my gosh, that just kind of opened my heart and my mind to the possibility of not having to, like, possess everything that I have, that I can spread that. So with that thought in mind, I tell you, this last week has been amazing, amazing for me emotionally. And so I guess that's part of my bright new dawn, is I feel less weight by all my UFO and WIPs, because I really went through them and have been determining which ones I want to spend more time with. Now, today's video is going to mostly be a Stitch With Me with the Home project from Buttermilk Basin. And I was so excited about that project last year and was ready to start it month by month. Of course, with the move, I got off by a month. So I am, in my mind, a month behind, because I thought I would have January's done in December, but that's not to be. January's will be done in January. February's will be done in February. So, that's the way it's going to go this year. But I am going to be stitching here on the video January, and talk about my process a little bit, and what I intend to do with the project, because I originally was going to make it for the guest bedroom bed, but then the guest bedroom became the playroom. So there is no guest bedroom bed, permanent bed in there. So I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to do with it. But I'm going to keep stitching it, so we will stitch it this year once a month. I'll have a Stitch With Me on that month's little circle. So this month is the little snowman, so apropos for what's going on in Sisters in Bend right now. But I did get a couple of questions about my the quilts that were on this rack. And so I wanted to share that with you since I could answer those questions on the video. So a couple of you have asked about this project. Isn't that beautiful? Yes, I just have to quilt it. And that's going to be a sooner than later project. It's called Alaska Whale Song, and I actually bought it at a quilt shop in Poulsbo, Washington. I believe it was in Poulsbo, yes. And it's artwork by Don Cinetti, and it is a laser cut fusible applique by Lisa Moore. So I will put her website in the description box, but it came like this, and then I bought the background. It's probably one of the few or rare projects that I actually did on batik, because batik is not my thing. I'm not particularly fond of the feel of batiks. But this whale is totally cut out, laser cut, and it's just awesome, awesome. And then you just fuse it to your background. The quilting will be the challenging part of it, but I'm ready for that. And then some of you asked about this little snowman face that was right there, and so I pulled him off. He is a Jan Paddock pattern, and so it's a big quilt. There he is. And I have a lot of, I think I'm going to be buttonholing by machine on the motifs, and then quilting. Yeah, quilting it. It's a cute one. But that's by Jan Paddock. Now, before we get started on our little stitch with me, I have another giveaway. And I hope that to enter in this giveaway, if you would be a subscriber, that would be number one, and thumbs up or a comment, that's always appreciated. Well, if you want to enter, you have to leave a comment. And the comment will have the word snow in it, okay? Here it is. This wool, isn't he adorable? He is adorable. I mean, I can't remember where I got this pattern. I believe it was a free pattern on the internet several years ago. And I just loved that little bunny looking up. And my intention was to make it into a pillow. But you could do whatever you wanted with it. So if you're interested in trying to win this little wool piece, it's already all stitched, the buttons are on it, it just needs to be made into something. Just in the comment, leave your comment with the word snow in it, and then we will draw before the next video. And please be a subscriber, that would be great. So now on to stitching. So this is how far I have gotten. I prepped my piece and I started stitching it. I wanted to show you my Baldani thread I store in what's called, I think I got it at Joann's on one of their 50% off coupons, but I think this is like for Hot Wheels or something, or crafts of some kind. So it's a big plastic box, and I have all my Baldani thread. It opens on both sides, and I have it kind of grouped somewhat by colors. And here's the thing about stitching on a wool project is, with these kinds of projects, I do either a whip stitch or a buttonhole stitch. And there's no rhyme or reason. I tend to whip stitch smaller motifs and buttonhole bigger motifs. But on the other hand, I will buttonhole something I want to show up a little bit more, because you kind of get that outline to the buttonhole stitch. And if you want your project to look more primitive, you're going to use a thread that has a little more contrast. So you'll see that I didn't totally match this green thread to the green tree. I took something a little bit lighter and variegated so that it would give it a little bit more primitive look and stand out a little bit. But that's basically, there's no rule to it. I just do what I feel like. And know that, you know, like I always say, no one sees the mistake, and if they do, well, I won't say what I would be thinking, but you just say in your head, it's primitive. It's primitive. So that's what I do. Yeah, I'm totally not about the judgment. It's kind of funny. I would go to quilt shows and I would see people looking at the quilts, and they'd be judging. They give their opinions, and it's especially fun to stand behind a quilt you entered, and then hear what they have to say. You know, it's really entertaining, really entertaining. So what I'm going to do right now is just adjust the camera so that it'll be on the piece as I'm stitching it, but you'll hear my voice just chattering away, and we'll do some stitching. Okay, so we're ready. The thing about my thread system is that because I travel, I tend to take a project, and I've chosen all the thread for that project, and so it's left my box, and then when I have to go find the color thread I want, I have to search through all these project boxes. And so I'm thinking that there's a couple of colors that I use a lot of, and I'm thinking I might need to make a trip to Pioneer Quilts and pick up a couple of extra balls of certain colors that I use a lot of. So on this particular piece, I am only going to do a whip stitch on this bird. It is little, and I think a buttonhole stitch is just kind of overkill for it. So I'm just going to do a whip stitch, and all a whip stitch is that you're keeping your thread perpendicular to the edge of your piece without that bottom outline leg of a buttonhole stitch. So I'm just going in and out right on the outside edge of it, and just trying to keep the same distance between my little legs that I'm stitching all the way around the piece. And if it isn't exactly the same all the way around, it's primitive. So there you go. It's a win-win. So I'm just going in and out from the edge, and I'm taking a little bite in. And I'm just going to go all the way around. That was a call from my the overhead door people. They're coming back to fix another little thing with the garage door and giving me a window, which is really nice, of when they might show up. But I'm not stressed because I'm just here with you guys. So you can see wool stitching doesn't have to take good eyesight. In fact, if you have poor eyesight, it's actually the perfect craft for you, because you can just keep calling it primitive rather than be browbeating yourself. I'm just going around the edge. Oh, did I tell you I tried the Instacart thing with my local grocery store is just, gosh, maybe a mile and a half from me. And so it took me longer to figure out how to do the ordering and to navigate the grocery store system and look for stuff that I like and order it. But I'm going to get better and better at it. And so here I thought I bought a pound of limes. I actually bought one lime. Isn't that funny? So G looks in the bag and he goes, "One lime?" So there's a learning curve for me, but I so enjoyed it. It was, I actually think I might be saving some money because, you know, as I walk around the store, I see things and I think, oh, I need to try, I'm going to try that, and so I buy more than I intended to. If you know what I mean. It's like when you go into the quilt shop for a spool of thread and you come out with the whole project. It's the same thing that happens in a grocery store. So this, I really appreciated all your input about how to do it, how you shop. Everyone had positive things to say about the experience. So I took the big leap into the pool and I liked it. I liked it. And I know I'll probably be doing it again. It looks like we won't get our vaccine, at least G and I, in our age group for a while, so I can't wait because I just want to have that older grandson of mine over, and he's in, he probably will be going back to school here pretty quick. Boy, I'm sewing my hair. I'm sewing my hair in my project. Oh, it's primitive. And I just knot off in the back. Now, someone asked me why I put a piece of fabric on the back. Why even cover that up? It's because of all the stitching and the knots that show up. So there's my little bird done with a whip stitch. Now I am going to, since I have this same color thread that I'm going to use on the building, I am going to do a buttonhole stitch around the building because it's a little bit bigger. I'm going to just start up in this corner. Yeah, that Instacart, boy, thank you so much for that. So I just come up at whatever point, and then the big thing, if you want a perfect buttonhole, you have to pay attention to the distance between the legs of the buttonhole. You want those to be the same, and you want the length of the buttonhole to be the same. And there's all kinds of Google tutorials on these stitches, so I by no means have the camera ability to do that, or yeah, I just can't do that. You can Google that. But the big thing is to make sure that the length of your legs are all the same and the width between each leg is the same. And if it's not, it's primitive. So I'm going to go down and then I come up at the edge and I let that thread lay down so that it makes an outline all the way around. and I just eyeball it. You know, when you've been quilting a long time, you can eyeball a 1/4 inch seam, and that's basically what I do. I eyeball it. So on this bigger motif, I am doing a buttonhole and not a whip. Now with all of the stitching, you know, if you want to learn all kinds of fancy stitches, there are numerous websites. And in my last video, I listed some of those. And oh my gosh, I mean, some of the stitching is like unbelievable. So then what I'll do is I'll keep stitching this all the way around. I'll finish stitching this week this whole circle. I'm going to fuse a piece of fabric onto the back. It can either be cotton. I wouldn't waste wool on the back of this. Flannel would be nice. You know, it's expensive. Wool's expensive, so you know, you kind of want to be a little bit frugal with it. And so I would probably use either flannel or cotton on the back. And because I put fusible on the back of this, this is soft fuse on the back of here. And you can see how I'm stitching that it needles perfectly. I mean, there's no gummy or lagging of the needle. It goes right through the piece. And so this way, when I decide on my piece of fabric for the back, I'll just fuse it on, and then I'll buttonhole all the way around the edge. Now, there are various ways to attach this to the home plate, you know, the home. And I'm kind of liking one of my friends did Velcro. She attached Velcro in the same spots on all of her circles, and so then they just come. She sewed the Velcro little squares on the back, and then she just takes them off and on and on and on each month, which I think is fabulous. Yeah. So you can see, nice but not perfect. We are not about the perfect. My wool stitch with me class, I shouldn't even say, it's not a class. It's a wool stitch with me Zoom meetup in which we can sit and stitch. You can stitch on any project you want. I am going to be stitching on, let me show you. I'm going to be prepping and stitching on this project. Isn't that adorable? And it'll be on April 1st through the Stitching Post's website. So keep your eyes out. They'll you know, launch it pretty soon. And but you can work on any little wool project you want, and it's more interactive in terms of that it's just like this. It's going to be just like this, except we'll be able to talk to each other, which I'm so looking forward to it, because I don't have the capacity to run a camera and look at the stitch, look at the questions, and answer them and make it more interactive on my own. But with the help of the Stitching Post staff, we're going to try to pull that off and see how it works. And then if it works good, we'll do it again. It'll be like our little club. I hope a lot of you come so we can have a really sweet gathering together. Now when it comes to wool stitching or wool prepping, you really need good scissors. Oh my gosh, scissors, it's all about the scissors. And the scissors that I use are Kai, they're Japanese steel scissors, and they have the finest little serrated edge. And I use that to cut out my wool pieces because the scissors are so fine. Well, I didn't do that right. You see? That's a little too primitive. There we go. It's such a beautiful blue sky out, although it's breezy. And you can definitely tell that it must have snowed on Mount Hood because it's a nip in the air. Even though it's sunny, it's pretty nippy out there. So it was great going to pick up my groceries and then not have to get out of the car. I just popped the hood, the hatch in the back. She dropped in the groceries. We chatted for a bit, and that was it. It was great. So I'm just doing a whip stitch around the windows because they're small and no one's going to really know the difference because the buttonhole will stand out so much they'll think I buttonholed the whole thing. Only you and I know my secret. Someone asked me also what kind of needle I use for my wool stitching, and I generally use a chenille needle. It's, you know, you can get all different kinds of needles from like Primitive Gatherings. Let's see, 24. I like the 24 needle, but I keep all my needles in this sweet little box. And it was so funny because I realized when I was looking at this box that this was designed by my former neighbor, Kelly Ray Roberts. It's totally her. And it's funny how the world is. Here I bought this box years ago, and then she ends up moving across the street from me. Yeah, that was kind of a fun surprise. Oh, that poet laureate that recited, Gorman, who recited her poem at the inauguration, were you not just blown away? I think just knowing that there's young people out there like her gives me so much hope. Gives me so much hope. It was so amazing to listen to her and how artistically she recited her poetry. See, it goes pretty fast when you're, these little wool projects just go pretty fast, and when you are doing a combination of whip and buttonhole, it's really nice. Like, I'll have this thing done today. That's if I can find some white thread. I couldn't, the one I have is too white. I like to have a little bit of a cream white, and for some reason, it's probably in some project box, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So here we go. See, so this is buttonholed, and that first window is whipped. Yeah. I'm going to get that done this week, and then I'm going to prep February's so we can get started on that. Hold on a second, I'm going to readjust the camera so you can see my face. It feels so good to kind of get control of my stitching and quilting life, and there are so many things that are here that I really want to finish and work on. Not to finish just to say I finished, but to enjoy the process of. I need to get out my Edita Sitar Christmas tree quilt. I want to start quilting some of these, and this particular project here was a Primitive Gatherings. It needs all the wool stitching done on it, and then it can be quilted. I have so much quilting that I need to find a long arm quilter here in Happy Valley. I remember looking up before we moved here, and there was one not far away from me that I'm going to try to find again and see what her services are like and what the reviews are like and her prices and all of that. Because, boy, when you have as much as I have to get quilted, I have to divide it up. And I can't tell you how sad I am that Fabric Depot closed. You know, that closed a couple years ago. But that was my go-to place for batting for my quilting. And now I would have to, because I like to use a Hobbs 80/20 fusible batting. That is my batting, because I can't get down. I don't have the table space to where you clip the quilt to the table, the backing to the table, and then you lay your batting, and then you put your top and you pin it all. Nor do I have the back, the physical back that will handle bending over like that to pin a quilt or to get down on my knees. I have asthma, so the spray-based it isn't a good thing for me, but that iron-on Hobbs 80/20 fusible batting has been perfect for me. And I used to buy it, a ton of it, from Fabric Depot. Now I think I'm going to have to mail order it because I have not seen it in the form that I'm used to buying it in, which is a queen size bagged bat or the baby quilt size I use a lot for wall hangings. So I am going to be doing that, maybe from Connecting Threads or something like that. I'll have to do that. But yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting times now in the beehive. I'm very excited. I want to hear the hum of my sewing machine again. Although I do have a ton of hand stitching to do, because that's basically my first love, is hand stitching. Well, you know that. You've been hanging around. Well, thank you. Thank you for stopping by, and hopefully you got your little home medallion out to start, and we can get January's done. Yeah, we need to get January so we can move on to next month. And don't forget, if you want to participate in that little snowman giveaway, he's all stitched. He just needs to be made into something. Be sure you're a subscriber, and then in your comment, use the word snow somewhere. Okay? You take care. Love you guys. Couldn't do this without you.